Welcome back to another episode of Full of a Took. We are here to discuss Book 2, Chapter 4, A Journey in the Dark, which I got to be honest, guys, not the most creative of titles. I was thinking of a knife in the dark the entire time, and A Journey in the Dark makes sense. When you read it, it makes sense. But I feel like the changing of a single word is...
We're repeating titles now.
Yeah.
What word would you change?
All of it.
Well, a shit show in the mines?
Yeah, that's way better.
A terror in the dark?
Yes.
Oh, there it is.
A
Okay.
Terror in the Dark, so much better. You know?
Yeah.
But A Journey in the Dark, Knife in the Dark, I don't know. Even the darks, like they could have said the shadows. They could have said missing light. I don't know. If you told
Probably not
get in
missing
touch,
light.
If you want me to get, I can
UV rays.
spew out a lot of options here. Doesn't matter. They're not going to listen to me. But that was my first initial thought when I opened the
Wait,
chapter.
who's not going to listen to you?
The Tolkien estate. I've already mailed them a list of ideas, and they didn't get back to me.
Oh, Jesus.
As the premier authority on your books.
Yeah. Hey, I read your book. You should change this title.
I read a lot of one book.
Yeah. I'm 12 chapters in, so give me a break. I don't know the ending yet.
Now you're 16. You're
Yeah,
16
16,
in.
whatever it is. Anyway, it's good. It's good. It's a good chapter.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest because I didn't actually read this chapter.
Oh, my God. So previously in the last chapter, the Fellowship of the Ring is formed, and Frodo sets out from Mordor. They travel south, reaching the ruins in Holland, where Aragorn felt like they were being watched. They noticed black birds and even a shadow pass over the land, and decided to leave. Later, the Fellowship reached Caradhras and attempted to pass over the mountain, but the snow was too deep and treacherous, forcing them to turn back.
We're here to talk about one thing and only one thing, which is Chapter 4, A Journey in the Dark. I really think they could have come up with a better title, though. I can't let go of this.
Yes, but also...
You have no thoughts on this?
It's extremely accurate.
They are journeying in the dark.
Some of these chapter titles are a bit on the nose.
But also, no one knows what they're doing. Even Gandalf, he's also in the dark.
Yeah.
Oh,
good one.
Okay, yep, there it is.
It's a double entendre.
Oh,
there.
God damn it. Now
Yep.
it actually works perfectly. Enough chit chat. Pat, if you'd be so kind and give us a wonderful summary of Chapter 4 of Book 2.
Okay, buckle up.
Buckle up, motherfucker.
Yeah, I'm glad you're over the chit chat. I'm going to monologue for 45 minutes. So, A Journey in the Dark starts us off with the Fellowship of the Ring having attempted and failed exactly one thing, to get over the mountains. And they get chased down the mountains by the storms, and the sun is going down. They're down past the snow, and they're kind of looking at each other. And the question is, well, we didn't go over the mountain. Does this mean we go back to Rivendale? Is that the course of action? And Frodo's like, we can't. I could not bear the shame of it. And Gandalf's like, good, because if we go back, we cannot leave again. This is our chance. And also, the ring won't be safe there for long. Sauron will come for it. There will be a short and bitter fight, and then everyone will die. Sauron gets the ring, and the world's over. So, guys, what's our plan B? And Gandalf is very much just, I have a plan B. If anyone wants to listen, we're going to go through the Mines of Moria, and nobody's having it.
One person's having it a little bit.
Gimli is all over it.
That's very true.
And why is that? It's because the Mines of Moria are like one of the great dwarf kingdoms. And we learned all about this back in many meetings. It's actually the whole reason Gimli and his father were at the Council of Elrond to begin with. They came to ask Elrond what they should do about the dwarf colony that went to Moria to try to reestablish the kingdom there. This was like 30 years ago when that happened. And they got some news, and then they haven't heard anything in a long time, so they were going to ask Elrond what he thought. There's a ring, and they're going to go on a journey and whatever. And, it turns out Gandalf's plan the entire time has been to go through Moria. But he politely concedes to Aragorn's request that they do not do that as plan A. So they tried to go over the mountains. Didn't work. Gandalf kind of like, nah, I thought that would happen. So now we got to go in the mines. And it's getting dark and they are shivering. And Boromir's like, well, hold up. There are other options.
Yes.
We could just go further south, go due south, past Isengard, past all the way down to the coast and bang a left and then head east and just follow the coast and get to Gondor eventually. Because again, that's where Aragorn and Boromir are going. And Gandalf's like, yeah, that's a cool idea, except we can't go anywhere near Saruman. Were you sleeping at the council? He's not on our team anymore. We cannot bring the ring within 1,000,000 miles of this guy. And you want to walk past his front door? No. Also, it would take a year just for the path you've described. And we don't have that time. Sauron is moving. We have a narrow window to leave Rivendell. That's why we left in winter for some fucking reason. Like, because we don't have the option to wait. And so Boromir's like, well, all right, fine, but this is dumb. And I don't like it. Everybody's kind of on the Boromir boat. And they're like, yeah, going into Moria sounds like shit. It sounds terrifying. This is the great dark fallen kingdom of the dwarves. There's Durin's Bane in there somewhere. It's a dark and terrible place. And the hobbits are helpful, like, yeah, I don't want to go there. And Gandalf's like, nobody wants to go, but who is going? And Gimli's like, boom. This man, I'm here. I'm here for the halls of my father. Bring it. Let's go. And
Moria.
yes, Moria. And Aragorn is like, I've been there before. It ain't great, but if Gandalf says that's the way, that's the way. Legolas, nope. Hard nope. Hard out. Just a straight no. Boromir, no, but I'll go if everybody else says to. And he says that after Legolas says no.
Yes.
He says, if everybody's on board, Boromir's on board. Legolas. This is like they're just making eye contact.
I have thoughts about this we'll come back to.
And then Boromir, again, to take the heat off himself, looks around and is like, well, hold on. Well, we haven't asked the ring bearer or any of the small people what they want to do. And Frodo's like, I think Gandalf is our guide, and I trust his wisdom, and he's seen us through some shit. I've spent like half a year looking for him, so I'm going to continue to do what he says. So I'm for this, but I don't think we should have a vote in the dark. I think we should wait till morning, because I think going into a haunted dwarf kingdom is going to sound way better in the daylight. Easier sell. And then the wind picks up, and it's this rocky, shitty, empty country they're in. And everybody's like, oh, the wind. And Aragorn's like, nope, that's wolves howling. And everybody's like, what do you mean? And the world erupts with wolves. And they're just their voices in the wind. And everybody's like, no, the wargs have come west of the mountains. A wolf is dangerous, right? A natural wolf is dangerous, a creature. It's an animal. A warg is a specifically evil wolf. It serves Sauron. It is a monster. And now they're over the Misty Mountains. They're west. They're on the wrong side of the mountains here. This is bad news. And they're here and they book it because they got to find somewhere they can like stay the night defensible. So they find this shitty little hill with a little ring of boulders on the top, and they climb it and they make a fire because they're not going to hide from a giant pack of wolves. They've got this little fire going, and they're the wolves and the howling, and they see shapes moving in the dark outside of the firelight. And this big, nasty, wicked-looking wolf comes stalking out of the dark. And Gandalf stands up and he's, fuck off. And
Was that the translation of the Elvish?
Yeah.
He stands up and goes, oh, my back.
Fuck you. If you value your hide, get out of here. This is Gandalf the Grey you are fucking with. And the thing doesn't really react. It goes to like leap, and there's a twang, and Legolas throws an arrow through the thing's neck.
Oh my gosh.
And like it's dead. And all the rest of the wolves kind of melt away. And so they have this uneasy peace, and like they're just feeding the fire, and people are going to sleep, and Frodo's up. And then all of a sudden, they realize that the darkness is moving outside of the fire. The wolves have silently crept back up, and then they just attack from every direction. Gandalf is like, throw everything you can on the fire, get a big bright fire, knives out, face outwards. This is it. And these things are coming over the rocks, and they're coming between the boulders, and they're coming over fallen trees. Legolas is whipping arrows into things as fast as he can. Gimli is swinging his axe. Aragorn and Boromir are going at it with swords. And the hobbits have their little knives out. And
Paralyzed with fear.
sorry. And it's not working. They are getting, it's bad. So Gandalf does a little magic, and he stands up, and he stands up taller and taller until he's a huge, imposing figure. And he reaches down and he grabs this piece of burning firewood, and there's this incantation. And then the tree above him bursts into flame. There's blinding light. And then every other tree on this garbage little hilltop bursts into flame, and it's like bright as day, and it's terrifying. And the wolves scatter, and they are just left kind of in the wind and the night, and they just watch as until the fire burns low and the sun starts to come up. And Sam leans over to Pippin and is like, "See, it takes more than a wolf to get Gandalf."
What a fucking dickhead.
Yeah, right? Like,
Not an appropriate time to be having this kind of ego, Sam.
right.
Chill, dude.
Yeah. And meanwhile, everyone else is having a quick look around, and there's no evidence that there was ever a wolf around. There's no bodies. All of Legolas's arrows are just laying around wherever they had hit a wolf. And Gandalf's like, "Oh yeah, 100%. This is some bullshit magic." And he kind of looks around. And he's like, "So guys, do we still need that vote?" And Boromir is kind of like, "How far is it to Moria?" 20 miles. and he's like, "And we got to book it because we will not survive another night of this."
Nope.
After sunset, we're fucked. So they are booking it across this like stony, crappy, barren land, because what Gandalf's looking for is a stream that leads from the gates of Moria to like the elf kingdom, the old elf lands of Holland. And they just can't find it. And they are starting to get worried. Everybody's kind of like, where there's supposed to be a stream. I feel like we should be able to see a stream. Gimli's up front with Gandalf the whole time. He's like, "This is gonna be so cool. This is gonna be great. I love it. I love where we're going to Moria. It's the Hall of my fathers. We got so much going on. It's gonna be cool." And finally, Gimli is like, "Found it. Found your stream. It's more like a crappy puddle, but we got it." And Gandalf's like, "Yeah, that should be a river. It's more of a trickle, but we're here. Let's go." So they follow this garbage road up in this garbage land through this next to the garbage stream. It's getting late in the day, and they're approaching the foothills of the mountain, like the sides of the mountain. And someone had dammed the stream, and it filled the valley in front of the gates. And this is where Tolkien does some really amazing atmospheric writing. Like his horror side starts to come out because this lake is sullen and ominous. And like the setting sun or the late day sun is like golden, and this lake is reflecting none of it. It's perfectly flat. It's black. It shouldn't be there. And Gandalf's like, well, I have been to Moria before. This is not how it was last time. I guess things have changed a little.
I don't know where I am.
I'm lost.
My whole plan went whoop.
So they have to get to the end of this lake, and at the end of this lake are going to be the doors to Moria. And around this time, Gandalf kind of hints that Bill the pony will not be making the journey with them. And Sam takes that real hard.
I took that real hard.
Yeah, Sam's not the only one.
And it's gonna get more emotional before it gets better. But the path starts to get a little rough, and there's like supposed to be a staircase and like a direct cut to the gate, and that's when they kind of are like, "Oh, we can't take the pony up those stairs." And Gandalf's like, "We can't take the pony up any stairs." And frankly, it would be a nightmare to take Bill the pony into Moria underground, because there's just places where he's not going to fit. And so we're going to leave him in the dark? That doesn't seem right.
Yeah.
Better to set him free. Okay, in Wolf Country? And they come to the walls of Moria. This is the end of the lake. It's just this cliff, this vast cliff. It is final. It's a pallid, pale face of rock. it is impassable. And they've come across this very narrow strip of land between this wall of rock and the edge of the lake. All the rocks are covered in slime, and like they have to kind of like walk through the shallows because it's so narrow. Frodo is like skeeved out at the way the rocks and the slime feels on his bare feet. Because remember, the hobbits are barefoot this whole time. And everybody's kind of like picking their way carefully through the water. If anybody's like walked in a stream, you kind of got to make sure you're not going to break an ankle. And the hobbits are just like, ew.
It like reminding me, like as soon as I read that line, it reminded me, oh my God, they don't have shoes on.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. They splash their way through this god-awful lake. And at one point, there's like a splash and a plorp. And like ripples, and everybody's like, what was that? And it's like, it just was like a big fish jumped in this lake, and it was kind of like, they're all a little weirded out. Everybody's uncomfortable, and they're coming up on the gates. What do they see in front of them? There's two enormous ancient holly trees planted right up against this rock face. It is helpfully explained to everyone that dwarf doors are secret, and they're not meant to be seen when they're closed. They're meant to be undetectable, and that they will have a secret key or a secret password, or sometimes they only open at a certain time of year. But these doors were meant to be left open because this was meant to be one of the two big gates into Moria. And this was the road the elves were supposed to take as they came out of Holland, because back in the day, elves and dwarves got along. And this was like sort of the elf entrance. And Gandalf walks up and he kind of like runs his hand and cleans dust off of the like this sheer rock surface. And the moon starts to come up, and he's like, tell me what you see now. And as the moon hits the rock surface, everywhere Gandalf has cleared the dirt away, silver lines start appearing in the stone. Faint at first, and then they grow stronger and stronger until there's an outline of a huge arched doorway flanked by two big pillars and two large trees, and on the doorway is a hammer and anvil and a crown with 7 stars, and these two trees that have crescent moons on them and a big multi-pointed star in the center. Gimli is like, oh my God, those are the symbols of Durin's folk. These are dwarf signs. The hammer, the anvil, the crown with 7 points. 7 points, 7 dwarves, 7 dwarf lords, 7 rings.
7 rings.
7 rings. Yes. And so Gandalf, what now? What are you gonna do? He's like, well, no, I don't know how to open this door. Are you fucking stupid? Boromir's like, what the fuck do you mean? Frodo's like, well, there's some Elvish written here, but I don't really know what it says. And Gandalf's like, that's because that's from the Western Elvish branch that was sunk in Barrowland in the sea that we can't go into, but is really cool. Anyway, it's a language nobody uses anymore because they're all dead. And it doesn't matter to us. It says, speak friend and enter, which whatever, it's fucking stupid. And Mary's like, well, what? Why is that stupid? What does that mean? And Gimli is like, well, it's pretty straightforward. If you are a friend, you speak the secret password, and then you can enter. And Gandalf is like, yep, absolutely.
Like, speak, friend,
Yeah.
and enter.
Mm-hmm. And they're like, okay, well, again, what the fuck is the password then? And Gandalf's like, I know like 20 score secret passwords off the top of my fucking head. A score is 20. So he's like, I know 400 different ways to open magic doors.
God.
And then he proceeds to try all of them.
That's one of my
Open
favorite scenes.
sesame, open poppy, open oregano,
Yep.
open paprika.
And he
Yep.
gets more and more frustrated, just cursing in different language to himself.
And he's like, yeah, and he's like,
Kicking the door.
and he tries different intonations and different combinations of
He's like,
words.
do something. Come
Yeah.
on.
And everybody's just kind of, and everyone else is sitting around watching this happen while the sun goes down and the wind picks up, and they're all thinking about how many wolves are going to eat them. Bill the pony is sweating bullets. And Gandalf is just like, in between is like screaming at a rock wall, is like, yeah, get ready. Strip down the gear. It's food and water only, boys. Get ready, because it's coming. And everybody's like, yeah, please, sooner rather than later.
Yeah.
And
Doesn't Boromir like throw a rock in the water or something?
Boromir gets
Wow.
bored of waiting, is just like, whips a rock into the lake. And Frodo's like, I wish you hadn't done that. This place is bad enough. And like the ripples come out, and Frodo's just like, I hate this. I hate everything about this. The ripples. I hate the water. I hate being here. I hate the fact that the wolves are getting louder and louder and louder. And Gandalf is like, open, you fucking thing. Open. And he curses at this thing in every dead language he knows. And then nothing happens. And he throws his stick down and he sits down. Gandalf's been into Moria before. But as it turns out, this isn't the door he used.
Yeah.
That's the door he exited from.
Yes. So
Yeah,
obviously
that
he
was
doesn't-
wide open.
Yeah,
Yep.
so he
Yeah.
doesn't know how to open it from the outside, dummy.
Again, Boromir being a dick about things.
Right. Gandalf is sitting there staring at the wall, and everyone else's lives are flashing before their eyes. And Gandalf's staring at this rock. And he just kind of, ha! You know what, Mary? You were right. Speak, friend, and enter. Melon. Well, Mellon is it's like melon or something.
Melon.
Watermelon.
Melon. Yes. And then suddenly the door starts to open. And everybody's like, what the fuck? And Gandalf's like, yeah, speak friend and enter. This was made in a time when elves and dwarves were friends. So the doors are open and several things happen at once. Gandalf goes to step in. Frodo feels something gross and slimy wrap around his ankle. And Bill the Pony fucking bolts. And Sam is like, Bill! Oh, Frodo. Because Frodo is being dragged into the water by this slimy green tentacle. So Sam
Jesus.
looks at his beloved pony running off into wolf country, looks at Frodo, pulls out his knife, and dives on that fucking tentacle and cuts it up. And the thing like recoils, and Frodo's not being dragged into the water anymore. And they all have a second to look at it. And then 20 more tentacles come out of the water, and everybody books it for the gate, and they just run.
Yes.
Everyone else makes it through the doorway and up the stairs while these tentacles like slither out of the water after them. And when it can't reach them, it pulls the doors shut. And then they hear a bunch of like crashes and booms and bangs. And they're sitting there in absolute darkness, breathing, wondering what the fuck that was. And the Gandalf's like, let's have a little light. And boop. And the top of his staff lights up a little bit. And there's this dim light that they're in. And it's the only source of light. And he's like, I'm going to go check things out. Steps downstairs, he comes back and he's like, the way is closed. Whatever that was, pulled the door shut, pulled those trees down probably pulled a bunch of boulders over the door. That door is closed forever. We trapped. We have one way. We go through. And Frodo's like, well, what was that? And Gandalf is real happy to just be like, the world is full of dark and evil shit. What do you want?
Yeah.
We should roll out.
Let's go.
But first, who wants a little drink?
I love this.
So they have another sip of their elf,
Mirrorvore.
Mirrorvore, their elf liquor, and they have a little bit of quiet dinner on these ancient stairs.
Liquid courage.
Yep. And then Gandalf's like, dinner's over. Let's go. And he pulls out Glamdring, his magic sword, and everybody else pulls out their little swords, and Frodo's got his magic blade. And while Frodo is contemplating how terrifying it is to be trapped under a mountain, he takes a little bit of comfort in the fact that his magic sword isn't glowing blue because it only glows blue when there's orcs nearby. Okay, so that's one less problem he's got. And they march off into the darkness down this, like, because the stairs go up and then they level off, and it's this stone tunnel, this road into the mountain, into the dark. And Gandalf is up front with Gimli, who's again super pleased, super stoked.
Even in the dark ruins of this fucking cavey mine, he's like,
This is it.
this is it.
And then Frodo and the hobbits and Legolas are behind them. Boromir's in there. And then Aragorn is like playing rear guard and like quietly stalking at the back of the party. It is pitch black except for this one dull light that Gandalf has. Gandalf's at the front.
Right? Yeah. It only lights his own feet. So how is anybody else seeing the cracks and stuff?
Because there's holes that open up in the floor.
Things
that-
reflect.
I guess.
Light
There's
reflects.
side passages, some of which are just dark, some of which have like a hot or warm breeze blowing through or cold air. It's just, but there's silence except for they're walking. And there are big fucking holes that are opening up. Like at one point, Pippin spends a couple of minutes trying to dig deep to jump one of these gaps.
7 feet.
It's 7 feet. He's only like 2.5 feet tall. And like somebody really could have just thrown him and it'd be easier.
They should have.
Should have.
Because at the bottom, all he can hear is the eternal faux water. Like there's a stream rushing down at the bottom, but like he's under a mountain. It's almost pitch fucking dark, and it's like, hey kid, come on, just jump it. Just jump it. What's the worst that happens? And eventually he does, and he jumps it, and it's fine. But like, it's a bad fucking time, and they keep this up, and they're not really deviating from this road, and Gandalf and Gimli are leading them on, but this place is vast and intricate beyond the imagination of Gimli. It is a city underground that no one has been in except for Aragorn and Gandalf and Balin and the dwarves from that whatever colony that was. Nobody else has really
Gimli
been.
hasn't even been there?
No.
Gimli's
I
never
missed
been
that.
there.
His father did.
No,
Maybe,
No,
did he?
Glowin didn't go.
Oh, shit.
Glowin, Gimli's father, his brother was one of the dwarves that came with Balin.
Oh, okay.
That's why he came. He was like, my brother went on this mission and like we haven't heard from him in years.
Right.
30 years ago.
Years.
And then they got message and news and stuff was great for a couple of years. And then radio silence.
Interesting.
And again, it was going to be one of those things like, Elrond, what do you think happened in the belly of the cursed earth?
yeah.
But they didn't get that far.
Yeah.
We are in the bones of the greatest dwarf kingdom that there ever was. They get to a crossroads. The road that they walk to splits in three. And Gandalf has a real good look at the road that on the left that goes down, and on the road in the middle that goes straight, and the road on the right that goes up. He says, I have no memory of this. I don't fucking remember this at all.
That feels bad.
Good sign from your guide.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't know what this is.
But this is not the road I took last time.
We were
I've never been
promised
here.
a journey in the dark.
Yo, and here we are. And everybody's like, what did you say? And he's like, yeah, we'll think about it. Hey, look, a guard room. Let's go sleep in there. And so they go into the side room, which was meant to be a place where guards could sit and watch this important crossroads. And they pop in, and really the only discerning feature is a lot of dust and a well, just a hole in the middle of the floor. It was for water, and there's like, a bucket and chains and shit. Also, it's like, guys, don't fall down the fucking hole. We're all going to take a quick break. And they're all looking around, and Pippin feels himself drawn to the well. And
As only a toddler can be.
right, and he lets the intrusive thoughts win, and he whips a rock down the hole, and it falls and it falls and it falls, and then
This
there's
size, huh?
yep,
Yeah.
and then there's a clink clang bonk and a plop,
Finally.
and Gandalf's like, "What the fuck was that?" And he's significantly less upset when he finds out it was Pippin whipping rocks down a hole, but he's still super mad. Throw yourself down next time, you fool of a took.
Woo!
Our namesake!
Fool of a tuck, baby!
That's us.
Right.
I've been waiting to hear where it came from.
Yeah, and this is it. This is the moment. Because you don't make extra fucking noise. You don't draw the attention of anything in this place.
Yeah.
And then a little bit later, they hear from echoing up the well from a deep place, dark somewhere, they hear bang, 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 bang. Like they hear like a message.
It's hammer time.
It's hammer time. Gimli's like, that was a hammer. I know hammers. That was a hammer. And Gandalf's like, yeah, I hope that wasn't that wasn't what that was. Fuck.
Let's go to sleep.
Everybody go to bed. Except Pippin. You have first watch. Good job, kid. And Pippin sits there miserably in the dark for a few hours, and then Gandalf's like, I can't sleep, man. Just go get some sleep, you fucking kid. And he's like, and he's talking to himself. He's like, you know what? you know why I'm upset? I haven't had a smoke in ages. And he lights his pipe. So after they have their smoke, Gandalf wakes them all up and kicks them all awake. He's like, I made a choice. Let's go. We're going right. We're going up because the air smells better. And everybody's like, okay, you say so. And up they go. Gandalf had said coming into this place, remember it was 20 miles to the gate? It is 40 miles across. 40 miles of walking in the dark, underground, in silence.
I'd call that a journey.
Horrible journey. And it's going to take 3 days. 3 marches. They've completed the first march. And so they wake up in the darkness and they set off in the darkness, walking in silence. And the only maybe good part of this is that Frodo has realized that since his little run-in with near death and near, enchanted evil knife, he finds that he can feel like he can see in the dark better and sense unseen things a little bit. Which, probably not good. If I was Frodo's doctor, I would say that's a bad sign. But
It's like a lingering side effect of his wound.
Like he's partly still in that other plane.
yeah.
Interesting.
And the ring is heavy on his chest. This is a bad place. And the fact that Frodo kind of feels like maybe it's not he's okay, he's better equipped to handle this is maybe not a good sign for him.
Yeah.
Being honest. And he hears footsteps, little pitter patters, just little behind them. And it I know. And it stops. It's not an echo because it stops when they stop. Except when it goes on a little longer. And so they'll stop and then it'll be and then it stops. And then
It's like having cats.
and it's every time.
Yeah.
But once he's heard it, he can't stop hearing it. But he's like, I don't know, it's probably just, it's echoes, it's whatever. And it follows them all in the first march. And now they're on the second march. And it's still there. Something's behind them. Frodo chooses not to share this information with anyone.
Good choice.
Because again, he might just be haunted.
Yeah.
I would probably bother Gandalf with this information at some point. Frodo chooses not to because he's, I don't know, conscientious or something.
He's got a case of the demons.
Got
do
ghosts in
cocaine
the
about
blood. I love you. So the hallways are getting a little better. As they head east, they're like, oh, we're heading towards the more inhabited parts of the Mines of Moria. The parts where dwarves lived.
Yeah.
At a certain point, they just come to a space and Gandalf's got the light, right? And it's on the walls and the tunnel. It's well defined. Gandalf just kind of walks and the walls leave. And suddenly it's this vast open space. And this cool breeze starts blowing on people's face and they are freaked the fuck out. And Gandalf's like, excellent. I think we're just about there. And let's have a little light. And he, boop, and there's a flare kind of thing. And they are treated to an image of a massive underground space with huge pillars. And everything is polished like black glass as far as the light reaches, which again, not very far, but it's in every direction. And Gandalf is like, this is a good spot. This is, we might even get some light in the morning. I bet there are windows up there. And by windows, he means an enormously long shaft dug into the side of the mountain that brings light and air all the way down to where they are. Mm-hmm. He's like, this is pretty good. Let's just curl up like puppies in the middle of the floor and go to sleep. So
They've
do.
been marching for 8 hours at that point.
And they've gone 15, maybe 20 miles.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I can't imagine what that must have been like. Because after a certain point, what are you seeing? What does that do to your vision? Where does your imagination go? What are your ears doing?
What do your pupils look like?
Right, because nobody's really talking. There's a little bit of whispering, a little bit of muttering, but really not much. Just quiet, dark terror. Your fucking adrenaline must be through the roof the entire time. Because again, they started this with their knives out. There are going to be knife problems, and they're waiting for it at every step of the way. And only Frodo's like, but also, But again, tells no one. So everybody's curled up on the floor, and Frodo's like, I'll take a watch. Somebody's like, Gimli, who would live in a shithole like this? This is hard. This is a nightmare. And he's like, it's not always like this, man. It was a place with like crystal lamps and music and light and people. And this place knew music. And then he sings a 2-page song.
Yeah.
And it's a fucking amazing song. And it's all about how when this was made, this was carved by Durin's folk, like the chief of the dwarf clans. Like this was if the dwarven people had a capital and a home, this was it. And it was a place of wonder and glory and splendor and wealth. And it was amazing. And Sam like hears this song, he's like, man, so do you mean to tell me there's still like piles of money hanging around somewhere? Gimli takes a deep breath. And he's like, no, all the upper halls, all the parts we can reach would have been like plundered by orcs a long time ago. But we weren't here for gold. We weren't here for jewels. That's garbage. We were here for mithril, true silver. This like incredibly strong substance. It's like super light, super strong. It's amazingly valuable. It's basically only found here. It's why we were here. It's why we dug. But it was in the pursuit of mithril that they found the thing that destroyed them. And everybody like pauses on that. And before anybody can really say anything, Gandalf's like, man, Bilbo had a coat of mithril armor. And Gimli like fucking flips out. He's like, what? A whole coat? Like, what? And Gandalf's like, yeah, I never really told Bilbo that coat of mithril is worth more than the Shire and everything in it. Yeah, I didn't want to ruin it for him. It seemed like a nice token, like a nice, little fucking thing he picked up on his trip. He gave it to Frodo, who is currently wearing it, listening to this going, oh my God.
Yeah. And he's like, I think Bilbo knew what this actually was because he
Right.
told me to keep it secret.
Right. And sort of after that, like everybody drifts off and goes to sleep and Frodo's got watch. And he's like sitting alone for 2 hours with his thoughts, which I don't know about you. That sounds like hell on earth.
No book, yeah.
Yep. No book, nothing. Just sitting in the dark with his own thoughts. Sounds awful. And after about 2 hours, he sees these 2 points of not quite as dark darkness. And he feels like something's looking at him. And I don't know about you, but I hate that. Anyway, he thinks nothing of it.
Luminous eyes in the dark.
Yes.
Correct. And he's just kind of like zoned out until Legolas is like, my turn, go get some sleep. And again, says nothing about anything to anybody, just goes to sleep. And then Gandalf wakes everybody up with a, hey, good morning.
Look, light.
Yeah, and light. Actual honest to God light. Gandalf was right, thank God, about something. There was these shafts tunneled into the roof of the chamber that go all the way out to the fucking out of the mountain. And they let in light and air. And they're starting to get like dawn light. And they look around and they see that they're in a chamber with exits at each of the 4 cardinal points. And Gandalf's like, well, I don't really know which direction to go. So let's because the gate could be in any, I think we're in the right direction, but I think we're above the gate. So we have to get down deeper. And I don't know quite how to get there. So let's have a quick reconnoiter around. We'll check all these other side rooms and we'll see what we see. So they go, well, we'll start with north. Why not? So they go through the northern door. They are confronted with a chamber and a shaft of light piercing the darkness, the otherwise dark room. And it falls on this stone table, stone tablet, stone slab. And they're like, what is that? And they go up and they look at it. And it's a tomb. And it says, here lies Balin, son of Fundin, Lord of Moria. And Gimli's reaction is, fuck, he's dead. And the chapter ends on that. And it ends with this moment of, oh, fuck.
Such a downer. Actually, these past 2 chapters have been such
They've been
downer
pretty dark.
endings. I'm like, ugh.
It ends on one of those not bedtime cliffhangers.
Yeah.
No, you want to go to bed. You're like, I can't read anymore.
Yeah, this was like fucked up chapter.
It's so
it was
sad.
so tense. I love this chapter for that because like it is it's like a very deep gut punch to somebody who's not Frodo or Sam.
But there's
And-
a few for Sam with Bill the pony. Oh my god.
Oh, he cried.
He did.
That's such a harrowing scene.
This chapter was right up my alley.
It had the right
loved it.
vibes.
Yeah, I loved it so much. That was not the case, though. When we were sitting and we were reading at home, somebody else had a different thought.
I love how it furthers the story. Excellent writing, great metaphors, great character development. But so far in the story, there'll be a downer chapter where the heroes fail, and then they get a win or a break the next chapter. For the most part. Not always, but for the most part. And this was, for me, the longest period of time where we're just failing left and right. It's so arduous. It's so tense. It's so anxiety, driving. And I hate feeling that way sometimes for this long, extended period of time. Did I enjoy what I was reading? Yes, overall, logically. But I did not enjoy it.
Yeah, no.
It made me feel very uncomfortable and sad and stressed and...
It was not a good read. It was bad. They are defeated, and then it's like punching down because they are all defeated by Caradhras, and then Gimli personally is defeated.
Well, it's like, oh, here is light. We are no longer in the dark. And then it's like, and he did. And we're fucked. I'm just like, no, I didn't like it. Not because I didn't think it was very well written or good for the story overall. Just this period is hard for me to sit in.
Yeah.
You don't like it when it just is like a barrage of like getting beaten up in a story.
Because I feel like that's like life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If I'm going to go to fantasy, I want a true fantasy.
Yeah.
Get me out of reality.
You need the lows to appreciate the highs.
Yes.
Speaking of lows, this was a chapter that was so many things, time after time after time after time, of very exciting and then very down lows. So we would have these like an exciting low, meaning the wargs are around them. That's an exciting low, right? It's like this is not a great time. This is a bad time, but also it's exciting. Like in that spectrum, we're in that corner that's like this is really fun and exciting, but also this is really fucked. When you go diagonally across there, it's like Gimli finding or seeing Balin's, tomb. And it's just the opposite of like, this is also bad, but this is not fun. I don't like this.
So your two axes
Sad.
are fun, not fun, good or bad.
Yes.
Yeah, this is a bad, not fun moment.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I'm fine with all of them, but like it hits the heart so much more, especially because it's Gimli, man. Have you guys ever like invited your friends to something that means a lot to you? Maybe it's like to watch a movie you love. Maybe for you guys, it's a board game that you're like, oh, it's so good. And you have somebody play it and the experience sucks. It sucks.
It's a letdown.
It's a letdown. And in your head, you're like, you're ruining this. Or like,
You were supposed to love this.
yeah, you were like, maybe the staff is off or somebody at like the bowling alley sucks. And you're like, they're ruining this for me.
They don't give you enough pasta.
Yeah, they don't give you enough pasta, whatever it may be. I felt like that was the situation with Gimli because obviously everybody was like, we're not going in the Mines of Moria unless we absolutely have to. Oh, turns out we have to. So,
I was going to say, except Legolas, who was just a hard no. That was the only time he was asked.
So he's like, I'm not going in
Fuck
if we don't have
that
to.
place.
So for Gimli to be like, well, everything's going to be good because, as bad as it is, I am going and this is my hood. And he's in
legacy.
there.
Yeah.
It's his legacy. Like, and when he goes in there and he's like, this sucks. You're just like, as a reader, like,
I loved at the beginning of the
God.
chapter when they were like, well, we might have to go back to Rivendale. And Merry, Pippin, and Sam were like,
yeah.
like you could just see these smiles on their face. They're like, yeah.
And Gandalf
And
sort
then
of like
2 seconds
patronizes
later-
them. He's like,
Yeah.
oh, the funny thing is like, we could go back. And the ring will just stay there.
And bad things
And
will
then
happen.
everyone will die.
Yep.
Or we can continue with our quest. And you're like, oh, right, yeah, we definitely should keep going. Because for a moment, when the hobbits are like, for a second, I was like, I think we're going back to Rivendell with the way they were talking.
No,
And
they
then
already
Gandalf's
spent
like
2 months
so
hanging
sassy.
out there before they
He's
left.
like- He's like, yeah, let's just go back and let everybody fucking die, huh? Sound good, you idiots? And I was like, oh shit, this guy's sassy.
But then as soon as he mentions Moria, we get the same reaction, but from Gimli.
Yeah,
He's like, we'll have to go through Moria instead. And Gimli's like,
yeah. I thought it was so fun. I freaking loved it.
And everybody else is like,
Yeah, Gimli was the
Yeah.
only one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
but yeah, no. So Gandalf is very much their guide in this chapter. Like he knew they were going to Moria. That was his plan A, and he and Aragorn talked about it. And he's like, "All right, Aragorn, we'll try your way. We'll try the mountain in winter. Duh."
Yeah.
And like in hindsight, maybe that wasn't the best plan. But I think what that highlights is that Aragorn's the only other person other than Gandalf who's been to Moria. And he
Yeah.
would rather climb a mountain in January than go to Moria again for any reason.
Which brings me to something I wanted to bring up. Aragorn, very early in the chapter, has a speech to Gandalf. He says, I will follow your lead now if this last warning does not move you. It is not of the ring, nor of us that I'm thinking of now, but of you, Gandalf. And I say to you, if you pass the doors of Moria, beware. And that really sat with me this time reading it through. He's not afraid for the ring or the company. He has some sort of previous knowledge where he's like, Gandalf, I'm really
Like
nervous.
a premonition or something.
Yeah, I'm really
Yeah.
nervous for you personally to go down to Moria. I don't know why you want to do this so bad because he has a bad feeling about it. And I never paid attention to that before. And that's like literally 3 pages, I think, into the chapter. It already sets your hair on edge. You're like, oh no.
That's interesting because I didn't pick that up. I just thought it was a general beware.
That's where my
this is gonna be
anxiety
dangerous.
began. And that's why I
But you're
had a really
right.
rough
Yeah,
ride.
he's kind of like,
Yeah.
hey, this is bad, but also,
Specifically for you. He's
Are
not even
you
worried
sure
for
you
the
wanna go
ring.
in there?
He's not
Yeah.
even worried for the ring.
Yeah.
It's word for Gandalf.
He's worried for him specifically. Yeah.
I really appreciated like 2 pages later, Boromir and Aragorn get into this like rap battle.
Yes.
They start rhyming at each other.
It was very
Did
Shakespearean.
anybody else notice that?
Yes, I
No,
did.
what are you talking
wait,
about?
I don't
Okay.
remember this at all. Please.
All right.
Read it.
So they were talking about how they might have to go to Moria when the wolves start coming out and they start hearing them.
Anybody want the peanut?
So
Wait, I love it. It's page 290.
yeah, it's in my
Oh,
book
I
too.
know it.
Yep. So they're
Wait. Can you guys be
Who
one?
do you
of-
want to be?
I'll be the first
Can
one.
you please do that for me right now?
Okay.
You're Aragorn. You're Boromir.
Remember, the wolf that one hears is worse than the orc that one fears.
True. But where the warg howls, there also the orc prowls.
Oh my God.
And I was Aragorn.
I was very much feeling as though this should have been a full epic rap battle of history.
I just saw Aragorn sitting in the corner and standing up and being like, aha.
These two are always at each other's throats.
I mean, how long has he been sitting on this prose? Aragorn's just been hunting the wilderness by himself for years. He has 1,000 lines.
Talks in the third person. He's ready.
Yeah.
I know.
They just got these rhymes like ready to go.
I loved it. I love that you brought that up.
That's
I actually had something I want to ask about that.
that's so much fun.
Aragorn says 15 miles as the crow flies, 20 as the wolf runs. What does that mean?
As the crow flies is like a straight line between 2 points on a map. But if the path wiggles, then you can't, you're not flying straight over. You have to take the path.
That makes sense.
Whoa.
It's like an airplane in a car.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what as the crow fly means.
Well, I figured as the crow fly. I know that saying. I've heard it. I've said it myself. I didn't really know what it means when I say it. But it's like, okay, well, I'm sending bird to air, bird lands. That's the distance.
Birdland.
This is now 20 as the wolf runs. And I was like, well, what the fuck is the wolf doing for 5 miles of that run? Just like, just like running back and forth. I don't know. I just was like, what
Stopping
does
to
that
eat a
mean?
rabbit or something.
I also had another question. This came up. I don't really quite know what it means. Pippin talks about Brandobras the Bullroarer.
Ooh, Bullroarer.
What is that?
Oh, this was when Pippin was like, I wish I'd taken Elrond's advice and not come on this stupid journey.
Yeah. He was like, I shouldn't be here. I fucked up.
I'm no good.
Sorry, bud. I'm going back.
And that was real early.
Yeah, it was right away. I know, before
immediately.
they even got to Moria.
Yeah, no, that was with the wolves. He was like, fucked up. And Sam was like, don't worry. Gandalf will lead us the whole way. And Gandalf's like, we're going to hell.
Yeah. I was like, you're going to
Yeah.
die. I'm going to use you as bait, Pippin.
Sam, I appreciate the vote of confidence. I'm letting your pony go.
Oh, that was devastating.
But yeah,
So,
the quote
but-
is, there's not enough of the breed of Brandobras the Bullroarer in me. These howls freeze my blood. So I assume it was like a
Well,
adventure.
Here's the thing,
ancestor?
right? It's like where I'm approaching this line from is like, okay, that's the first time it's come across in the book. Perhaps it's been talked about in another book, in an appendix, in a seminarian or whatever it's called. But it ain't in
I'm
this
sorry,
book.
say that again?
It's a seminarian.
Sismanarian? South Morellian?
Whatever you talk about.
The
I don't know.
South
Remember, it's the
That's-
Cimmerils.
The Cimmerillion.
Close.
Closer.
Sumerian.
Good enough.
The good Samaritan.
The good place.
So
The bad place?
is Brandobras the Bullroarer supposed to be inferred as somebody who was potentially courageous, or are we supposed to have known what this is?
How do
No.
you do this?
It's hard.
Just no to all questions, I think.
No, it's a very obscure reference.
Yeah.
Bullroarer took. I think is it in The Hobbit?
I think so because I don't think it's like who else would care about hobbits other than
Nobody. It's a Gandalf quote. Basically, Bullroarer took was basically the most warlike hobbit that's existed in living memory. Bullroarer took. He fought goblins. He knocked one's head off with a stick.
What's the difference between a goblin and an orc?
No difference.
Okay, cool.
Knocked his head off with a stick. It flew 100 yards and went down a rabbit hole. The man won the battle and invented golf.
So he's like, I was just gonna say he's Babe Ruth. So instead he's Tiger Woods. Got it.
No,
God.
but that's it. Like that's the as far as the tooks go. That's
So
your
he's
man.
like a tough dude.
Yeah.
one of my favorite Aragorn quotes of the whole chapter was when he's talking about Gandalf and trying to believe in him still, and Gandalf is fucking up. He says, he is sure of finding the way home in a blind night than the cats of Queen Beruthiel. I am so happy to hear just the mention of cats for the first time because they have not been in this so far. We've had dogs with Farmer Maggot, every other creature you can think
that's
of.
true.
But we finally know that there's cats of this queen, and Aragorn knows of them, which made me love him a little bit more.
Is Aragorn a cat dad?
Yeah, the cats love him.
I think he's a stray cat dad,
There's
I think
cats.
he's a stray
Obviously,
cat.
there's cats in the woods,
and he's their friend.
and he is hanging out with them.
They're both.
Aragorn,
Wait, he's in the corner like.
Aragorn is an indoor-outdoor cat.
Oh, yes,
He can read the minds of
I love
animals.
it.
Yeah.
Is it cool if we talk about the wolf attack?
Yeah.
That is like all I want to talk about
Okay,
right now.
yeah, it was very
so,
exciting.
First of all, a couple things. One, Gandalf yelling at the wolf. An amazing boomer moment.
Fuck off.
He totally turns into like a boomer in that moment. Like, just stands up and he's like, I know what'll do it. Go away!
Get off my lawn.
Yeah,
Go on.
get off the lawn! And everybody's like, is he serious? I thought that was so fun. The second thing is I loved the writing that says the bow of Legolas was singing. In regards
You can
to
hear it.
how fast he was flying these arrows at all these. Oh my god! It was singing. It
And
was
that's
like,
when it's
oh,
happiest.
beautiful.
It's happiest when it's just
Murder.
causing death.
So cool. And then honestly, when the big one gets shot in the neck by Legolas and they all scatter and then they all start coming back, man, like the hair on my neck was just like standing straight up. I was like, this is so cool.
It is the most exciting moment in the chapter, right? Because everything else is kind of like a slow burn. Oh no.
This is mortal peril.
You're right. It's very much a slow burn of pressure and darkness and the fact that they have to get out of from underneath this mountain. They have to get out of Moria. They got in, now they have to get out. The wargs is just like, fuck you, here we come, boys.
Yep.
And it is immediate.
It's real, is what it is.
Yes.
Being in the Mines of Moria is not real.
Yeah.
That's
Wait, what?
fantasy. That's fantasy.
Being attacked by wolves.
But being attacked by wolves in the middle of the woods is real.
Does Chris
That
not
can
know this
happen
is
to
based on real events?
But like legitimately, that's the difference, right? And I talked about this before. Things hit me harder when they're not fantasy.
When you can imagine them happening
In
to
this
you.
book, it's like, dude, wolves could attack you in nature, and that feels so much more intense than like, oh, I wonder if the made up orcs climbing the walls of the mines or the secret ghost riders on the horse. Like that stuff's fucking awesome, and I'm so here for it, and I love it. But the scenes that include things that legitimately could happen outside of a fantasy novel in real life on our Earth are, to me, some of the more terrifying aspects of this book.
It's very visceral, right?
Yeah.
The wargs, super visceral. Farmer Maggot's dogs, super visceral.
Yeah.
Like, you write what you know. Like, we all know what it's like to be confronted by a dog that scares you.
I wonder if Tolkien had a really bad experience in the war with like a dog.
Or just generally.
Or
Yeah, because
like,
he lived in the country.
maybe not even in the war, but just, like a bad experience with like a very mean dog, like a wild dog.
How big was that fucking dog at the castle?
It came up to my chest.
It was a wolfhound. Imagine
a
an
big fucking dog.
unfriendly dog that size coming at you, and now imagine 20 of them.
Right.
You're fucking dead.
And we were outside. We were walking along the trees. And that
And
thing
it was
stared at
friendly.
us
It
and
just
started-
came out of the woods, but then it led us on a magical trail.
It was
We had a very
sweet.
different experience.
It ended up being very sweet, but I grew up with Bernese Mountain Dogs, Labrador Retrievers. I grew up with big friggin' dogs. We were in Ireland last week, and that dog started coming at us. I was like, ah! I'm afraid. I'm afraid. That's a big dog.
But ironically, I normally am, and I was like, oh.
And she was like, oh, you need a puppy. And it came right up, and it was the sweetest pooch on earth.
It's amazing that you bring up this like sort of relationship to real life, right? And the way you
Yeah.
can relate to different kinds of fantasy. Because I have always loved this chapter, this dynamic, all this stuff. Because growing up, I read The Hobbit first, or it was read to me first. And in The Hobbit, the dwarves are protagonists, and the elves are, at one point, antagonists. So like I had that kind of bias. And as a reader, we go to Rivendale, and all we hear about are elves, and how fucking magic they are, and they're cool and powerful, and they do stuff. Every time they mention a dwarf, they're not friendly. And that's all they get. Right up until Rivendale, right up until Gimli and Glow in it, and then we are like shoved directly into Moria. This is the dwarf kingdom, and so that's a cool dynamic. And
One of Glowin and Gimli are relatively nice, jolly people.
right? Like,
Now.
yeah,
Well, so far. To be fair, so far.
Yeah,
it
they're-
might be
they're-
worse, but
they're approachable.
Yeah.
They're interesting. They are
Glow and talked to
protagonists.
Frodo the whole time.
Right.
Yeah. Frodo was like,
But so you talk about realism and like things you could encounter as being something that you connect with more as a reader. That's part of the reason I personally connected more with this part of the story than say like elves, because I grew up in South Jersey, and we have hills, and I'm sure there's people all over the world who are like, yeah, the Appalachian Mountains aren't mountains. They're mountains. It's fine. They're just ancient. Appalachian Mountains are older than bones. That's a fact. So
is.
they're a little lower, whatever. But they're still mountains. And when we would travel west into Pennsylvania, we would go through these tunnels, these long tunnels. Like you're in this tunnel for like 45 seconds, a minute. In Middle Earth, the east is the bad. We live in the east. So whenever I would conceptualize the map of Middle Earth, it was always mirrored.
yeah,
So they're like, the ring goes east to be destroyed. I'm like,
the ring has to be destroyed in Wildwood.
Yeah, right. I was like, no. You take that shit to Washington. It's going to
City.
California.
If we're being real.
Sacramento. But to tie it back, it to me, it was like mountains I could relate to more, because like, what is Moria? It's a city under a mountain. Under what mountain? Any fucking mountain. It could be anywhere, right? You could look at a mountain and be like, wow, that's amazing. And then you can imagine something being inside the earth.
Yeah.
And you didn't have to see it, and you didn't have to, it didn't have to hint that it was there to maybe be there. And like that was a cool thing.
So it could be under any mountain.
It could be under any mountain. But the other thing is, growing up in Jersey, elves live in these forests, these like enchanted woods, these old magical places. Jersey does not have old magical forests. It has the Pine Barrens.
Yeah, the Pine Barrens.
What kind of elf lives in the Pine Barrens?
Italians.
The Jersey Devil.
It is like it is some Keebler ass elf ripped out of his mind on fermented cranberries who's gonna sell your child for his next hit. Like that's the elf you find in the Pine Barrens.
I just got the Soprano stuck in my head. Dude, I can't get out of it.
Some kind of Czechoslovakian.
Czechoslovakians.
He's an interior decorator.
Oh my
We
god.
have probably nice forests maybe up north in the Hills Have Eyes part of New Jersey.
Yeah, like
But,
Northwest.
in South Jersey, it's Pine Barrens.
Yeah, but like not like you can hear the highway from like any given point.
Yeah.
Like,
Back to the wolves /
Yes.
wargs.
Okay.
What on earth happened to their bodies? After
magic.
they
Dark
just like
magic.
magically disappeared? Okay.
My note on that, Laura, is so the wargs just evaporated? No dead bodies?
0.
Okay.
Yeah. I was just like, what? Did their compatriots remove them?
You know, it cuts
No.
to blah, blah, blah. Oh, it's magic.
while he's like making sausage.
There's like 75 wolf furs on this thing. Goldberry's laying there naked on it. She's like,
The ponies
like one of
outside
your
are like
French
chomping at the
ladies.
bit.
Yes.
They're like, oh, new horse blanket. And I brought it full circle.
Hi-oh.
So we think that because the wargs are like magical, evil magic beings, they just sort of
well,
evaporate.
here's the question for you. Were the wargs ever really there?
Ooh.
Was it all an illusion?
I'm willing to say yes.
Well, there was no proof of that.
Apparently.
Gandalf told everyone they would die if they didn't make it to the mountain by dark.
Yeah, but
He was wrong.
But then the sun came up, and there was no proof of their pudding.
Well, I will say
Yeah.
something real fast, and I'm not saying I know this, but that's a good point because, like the ring wraiths, there are certain elements to what they can do in this plane because they're from another plane. I'm not saying the wargs are like that. You're on like an interesting track.
Yeah, I think it's interesting.
Whether you're wrong or right, I think it's really creative.
Yeah, it's an important moment, right? Because we, as readers, we are trying to understand the world as it's presented to us, and a good hallmark of fantasy writing is internal logic. Like, so you can take a person on a magical journey, and a part of that journey for a reader is figuring out what the rules of the world are. Because I don't remember who said it, or somebody said that the thing that makes magic interesting is not what it can do, but what it cannot do.
That was me.
Yeah.
So, well done. So, but the point is that as the world comes into focus, we as the
I
world
said that last episode.
Yeah.
so as the world comes into focus and we learn more, it really raises more questions than it answers.
So there was a line that was brought up in the book that I thought was just really funny, which was Gandalf says to Pippin, "Knock on the doors with your head."
That's his way of saying, shut up and let me think.
Yep.
I love that.
That was so good.
And then his head's a wood block.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A blockhead.
It highlights Gandalf's second boomer moment.
He threatens to kill a child?
Well, no, Gandalf fucking throws a temper tantrum because he can't
Oh
open
my God,
the
it's so
doors.
good.
And I was like, dude, this is like, I feel like I'm watching TikTok right now. We've already seen him have a temper tantrum at the wolf, like, go, get off, get out of here, wolf. And then it cuts to him and he's like, these are the doors to Moria. And then he's like, open. Fuck. It doesn't open. He's like, well, shit. And he throws his stick down and he sits down and he crosses his arm. He's like, I thought for sure he had the fucking password in his head.
And I really enjoyed right before that, Boromir was getting real sassy. Like, why did you bring us here?
Yeah.
How can this be if you don't know how to enter?
Yeah.
And Gandalf just like schools him. He starts talking down to him like a I don't know, 6th grade teacher.
Yeah.
Right? And I was trying to figure
Back
out
to
like
school night at the
what-
Mines.
At what grade can you tell a student, as for your other question, do you doubt my tale or have you no wits left?
Right?
What grade? 6th grade? 7th grade, maybe?
Yeah, shut up. I'm the teacher.
Yeah.
Which I love all of this because we finally learned in this chapter, like last episode, I was like, he's really irritable. Maybe his like back's hurting him, whatever. He just hasn't had a fucking smoke. He's going through
Yeah,
withdrawal.
seriously. Yeah. Well, I also want to bring up something that blew my mind. The line "middle night" was used.
I'm sorry.
Have you ever heard that phrase, the middle night?
I just
No.
know that it blew your mind.
I never knew that midnight was short for middle night.
Oh.
And that clicked in that moment, and I felt quite dumb for never realizing what midnight meant.
I never made that connection.
What's noon stand for? What are all these things I don't know?
Noon is
Midday.
short for Noontober.
I was going to say noontide.
I mean, let's talk about this because this is real fucking shit.
Noontoberfest. I like Noontoberfest.
So if midnight is short for middle night, and it was like my brain blew up, and I was like, "You idiot, Chris! Of course it's middle night." And then I was like, "Well, what do we call noon? What's noon? Why is it called noon?"
midday, I guess?
NOON stands for midday.
No.
I call BS.
That
on
would
that
be another name for it.
Noon is the opposite of moon.
That's a nice attempt there. That's a nice one. Yeah.
I don't know what noon means.
Like you had I had you for about half a heartbeat.
Yeah, there was a second. There was a second where I was like, "Oh shit!"
Well, after
no.
all this doom, gloom, and noom, I could use
Noom,
I could
noom.
use the opposite of moon.
Noon.
I could use a treat.
Yes.
I think it's time for
Fool of a treat.
It's your segment. That's not what it's called.
The terror in your eyes.
Fool. I actually forgot what it was called too. I was like, food section.
For thought.
Snack time.
Yeah. All right, so let's fucking. This has been great. Let's get into the food for thought.
All right. Today I leaned real heavily into the Journey in the Dark. So we've got a very dark wine. We've got a Bordeaux. And we've also got some dark chocolates.
What do the
Nice.
chocolates represent?
Just
Are
dark.
these the
just dark,
are
dark,
these
dark.
the things that are cracked and broken on that they're walking on?
Absolutely.
So
yeah,
we have
that's what you're thinking,
Yeah.
right?
I just see
definitely.
this as Gandalf's like pick me up snack.
One plate is 82% chocolate, dark chocolate. And then the other plate is 72%.
Yo.
What's the difference?
Nice.
So this is going to
Flavor.
be darker and more bitter.
I'm gonna take an 82% because that's the
All right.
Twilight, right?
Everybody
Yes.
take a
I
little
love that.
piece.
Yep.
I'm taking
also
a whole
try
square.
your very dark and dry Bordeaux. and
I'm very
see
excited.
Maybe which chocolate goes better with the wine.
All right.
Well, cheers.
Cheers, everybody, to a journey in the dark.
Yay. Poor Balin.
Let's enjoy this dark wine and this dark chocolate to connect with our friends. I'm having the 72%
Me too.
chocolate, and it's pretty good. It's kind of bitter, but it's pretty good. How's the 82?
Tastes like
Go-
leather.
It goes really well with the wine. I actually like it just on its own. It's like the Twilight.
It's not that exact chocolate. That one might actually be more than 82%. But
It's good.
it's
really
the
good.
intense dark.
I really
Does
like
this
it.
also represent the blood of the wargs?
100%. Wait, no, there wasn't any.
Trick question.
They
Body of
disappeared.
wargs.
Body of work.
Body of wargs.
Blood of wargs.
Wait,
Blood of
We're
Chris.
heathens.
Blood of Chris.
for Bill the Pony. I pour one out. You know what's also crazy? We are on the 5th chapter
Yes.
of book 2. We only have 6 more left.
What's the next
Really?
chapter?
It's chapter 5, The Bridge of Khazad-dûm.
Khazad-dûm.
The bridge of Khazad-dûm is next.
Yeah, girl.
The one time Pat is not wearing his Khazad-dûm shirt.
That's very true. Or the burgundy Bordeaux shirt.
Oh my God.
We've gotten a couple comments on social media that are like, "Does that guy only have 2 shirts?" And I
He has
responded,
more
and I was
shirts.
like, "Yes."
Yes, but they're all in 2 colors.
The Khazad-dûm one. Yo.
Next week we have chapter 5 of book 2 of the Fellowship of the Ring, The Bridge of Khazad-dûm. I am so excited to read this. I don't know what it means. I only found out about Khazad-dûm last week, so this is cool. This has been another full of a took. Fantastic episode. Cheers to everybody in this room who I love and care so much about. We got back from Ireland, and
We didn't die.
we didn't die. And now that we got a couple days apart from each other, so we can regain our love and trust of each other.
Yeah.
Because the trip was tough.
It was not. It was not.
What, Chris? I went right.
I was wait. Okay, fan. We have 2 minutes left. I gotta get this story out. So we're in Ireland. We're driving. It's Pat's first night of driving on the opposite side of the road.
Need more
It's
chocolate.
6 hours.
It's been a long day of driving. Pat entered a stage that nobody really appreciated, which was his cocky stage, where he had been driving for over an hour, about 2 hours at this point. He had entered his cocky stage where he didn't need to be told anything.
Until
He was getting a little fresh with the responses. When I was like, turn left or left, he's like, yeah, got it. Yeah, I got it. And then we entered the roundabout and his brain turned off. And he turned right instead of left into oncoming traffic in the roundabout and entered the turning lane. And I said, Pat, no. And he turned to me in the car and went, what? And I went, you're on the wrong side of the road. Just keep driving. And you're like, what? I'm in the roundabout. What's the big deal?
I went right.
I went right.
just went straight through a roundabout.
And it was a really intense moment. So anyway, that's the whole
and this
story.
is after Laura and I were silenced as the hobbits that we were at that point. Stop backseat driving.
We turned into Aragorn and
screaming.
Gandalf. We were on
backstreet
camera
screaming.
dress arguing about plan A or plan B. What are we doing? We turned right into it. And it was so funny. We looked back and we laughed the whole rest of the trip about it.
We did.
Yeah, but honestly, it was just one of those things where...
That little old lady whose lane I turned into was not happy.
Yeah.
But she also was being a speed demon.
Once she hit the hood of the car, she rolled off the side. She was fine. I mean, she at least didn't talk anymore.
She was in a car.
She stopped complaining quickly once she hit the road.
No crimes were committed.
No.
She
Actually,
bounced
we
off
all
the
drove-
sidewalk like
we
a
all
log.
drove excellently. That's all I will say.
Anyway, thanks so much for watching. Thanks so much for listening. Thanks so much for sharing, for commenting. We're almost done the first part of the Lord of the Rings, the Fellowship of the Rings, part
That's
1.
right.
Right?
That's right.
Pretty intense. So anyway, cheers from Full of a Took. I hope you guys have a good time in your own dark journeys.
And thank you so much to all the listeners who have said you stopped reading the series or your reread and you're now reading with us. That is so cool.
We love it. We
means
love
the
you.
world to us. Thank you for going on this journey with us, and it's awesome.
I am Christopher.
I'm Laura.
I'm Robbie Jean.
I'm drunk.
I hope you guys have a great week. We'll see you next week on Full of a Took.